Welcome to the Smarter Leadership Podcast, where we explore the power of leadership, from overcoming challenges to shaping cultures and building a lasting legacy. Through inspiring stories and insights from our guests, we'll share transformative lessons to help you thrive in today's interconnected world. I'm Tucci. Join us for conversations that will inspire thought and action. Nana Aba Anamoah is one of Ghana's leading television journalists. As news editor, she built GH1 TV's primetime news into a competitive platform, mentoring numerous award-winning reporters. She's interviewed prominent figures, including former Ghanaian presidents and global leaders. Nana Aba has led initiatives like the Stop Tramadol Abuse campaign, which spurred government action to establish a national rehabilitation centre. She's the founder of Women of Valor and Hearts Wide Open, which support women and people in need respectively. Her accolades include Radio and Television Personality of the Year and Ghanaian Woman of the Year in Media. So, Rosamond.
I hate that name.
So does anyone call you that?
Yes.
Who?
My son, but he shortened it to Ro.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that kind of passes, right?
No, I hate it. But that's what everyone calls me at home. My name is pretty long.
Yeah.
It's pretty long, but I dropped the Maki one. It's too English.
Mine is really long, but mine is really Ghanaian. Shall I share it with you?
Yes, I've heard Shika mention it.
So Tucci, Mawena, Ajua.
I'm Mawena as well.
Nice.
You're my mom as ever.
Yes, I forgot.
So,
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So I'm Tucci, Mawena, Ajua, Goka, Ivowi. I don't even have one English name.
Wow.
But
How did that happen?
I guess my parents were kind of Black pride, African pride, Ghanaian pride, and then when I came back to Ghana, people started calling me Obroni. The irony.
Exactly, yeah.
So, you're really known for being a bold person.
I don't know about bold, but, well, yeah.
You speak your mind, you don't mince your words, and that's not something very common, especially in our country, in Ghana. So I'd like to understand a little bit about that. Have you always been that way?
Always, from childhood. I grew up in a home that allowed us to express ourselves. My father expressed himself freely, and he allowed us to do same. And so I wasn't afraid to speak my mind in front of my father, so I'm not afraid to speak my mind in front of anybody.
That's beautiful. And do you think that's part of, let's say the success that you've been able to chalk over the years? Has it played a role?
I think so, largely. I think so. Sometimes it lands me in trouble, but I live for trouble, so... Yeah.
So what have been your passions growing up? What are some of the things that maybe you knew you always wanted to do? And are you doing those now?
I always wanted to be on TV.
Okay.
Always wanted to be on TV. I hate radio. I fell in love with TV at a very young age. Again, my father. My father was always watching TV. He loved CNN a lot. And so when I was very young, I was watching Larry King live. And that's how I fell in love with current affairs and news.
Okay.
I barely watched cartoons. So I fell in love with cartoons when I grew up. Because when I was young, I wasn't watching cartoons. I was watching TV with my dad. And it was always the news. And so when I was very young, I knew who Gorbachev was. I knew about USSR. I knew all of that because I was watching TV with my father. And I remember 7 p.m. every day, he would, move from CNN to watch GTV. And there was a lady on GTV that I absolutely loved, Barbara Sam.
Okay.
I loved her so much. She was gorgeous. She spoke beautifully. I was in love with her. And I always fancied, being Barbara Sam. I loved her so much. And so when I was really young, in class 2 or class 3, I knew I wanted to be Barbara Sam. And I had friends who supported me. And so in class, I was always leading. I was a talkative. My name was always number one, because I like to talk a lot. I like to read as well. And I just loved attention.
But that's really, it's wonderful because, you had somebody, essentially a role model, somebody who did what you'd love to do, who did it well, someone you could look up to in that sense to emulate. And here you are today. You've done it so well. Over the years, you've been highly regarded as a top media personality, broadcaster, news journalist.
Thank you.
And so, I really see the importance in this regard of role modeling. Who else would you say has had an impact on your life, whether as a role model? As
Mrs. Alberta Corte,
okay.
Headmistress for Alcid Academy. very strict woman, but she inculcated so much in us. You know, you had to be punctual. You had to take whatever you were doing seriously. I remember we were asked to do needlework. I didn't understand why we had to. I hated it so much. But later on in life, I realized I could stitch a few things. I could fix a button. So it was very important that we did that. But the one thing that I'm so proud of is that I'm always on time. And it's because of Mrs. Corte.
Wonderful.
I know parents hated it at the time because at Alcid, 8 a.m., the gate is closed. And no matter who you are, you're not getting in. You have to go back with your ward. And so my father just loved it. My mom hated it because my mom was always late. But my father was always on time. Okay. And that's the one thing I picked from Alcid Academy, from Mrs. Corte especially. I love that aspect of me, the fact that I respect time so much, and I have very little regard for people who don't respect time. You know, it makes me really angry that you can't prioritize time. And so Mrs. Corte, Barbara Gates, and of course my father. Yeah, these are the three people. Yeah,
you've
really
mentioned him quite a lot, so I'd love to come back to this. Yeah. You know, so you're talking about time, and you know, time is a person's greatest asset. That's all we have at the end of the day. It's time, and it's not even in our hands. Time can be taken away from us. So when people don't respect other people's time, it's like a big, you know, insult. And
it irks me so much.
So it's and again, you said that you learnt about that by modeling someone, by, you know, being in that school, seeing, you know, someone taking time seriously and actually taking measures for those who didn't respect time. And I think that's what I see a lot of young people are not learning from today. They come, they knock on people's doors, they want mentors, you know, they think it's as simple as that. Will you be my mentor? But they don't realize that there are mentors all around them that they can watch, they can learn, and you know, they're just trying to kind of take a shortcut. And when they talk about mentorship, often it's not really mentorship they're looking for. They're just kind of looking for an easy door to connections, you know. So I know you spend a lot of time with youth. You've done a lot to support youth that you meet in the streets, that you meet on your platforms, and you know, it's really a wonderful thing. But it means you've also seen a lot of the youth who are not taking their lives seriously, and you know, can you talk a bit about that? Give me your perspective on the youth today and what.
I've met a few who really don't take life seriously, but I've met a lot of people who are very passionate about their lives, but just lack access to opportunities. They just don't get opportunities. If they had those opportunities, their lives will turn out better. There are young men that I've met who are really not looking for money. They just want direction. They just want to be placed in a very comfortable place, and they'll turn their lives around. A typical example is this young man I met on the streets, Ebetoda, who is now a TV presenter. And he had been hustling on the streets for a long time. He started in Kumasi as a hawker, came to Accra, and he thought that he had moved on from one place to the other. He had moved on in life from Kumasi to Accra as a hawker. And that for him was a big life-changing experience, to hawk on the streets of Accra. And I'm thinking, what? You know, but what this young man needed was just an opportunity. He went to JHS, he couldn't continue. Again, that is why I'm a big fan of free SHS. And I know people have challenges with free SHS. They say there is congestion, we don't have facilities, but I keep saying that I'd rather a child sat in a congested classroom than to just sit at home and idle around. Once you have a teacher coming in and the class has 80 people, but the teacher is able to make time to teach, that child is going away with something. He's imparted, you know, with knowledge. And I prefer that to a child just idling about because
they just don't have the opportunity.
They don't have the means to go to school. And, you know, so, and that's one of my I think I'll put it down as a legacy for this president. You know, I'm very, very happy. I have my own challenges with it. I think the execution, not excellent, but the number of children who've been able to access education, senior high school education, is phenomenal. And that is a big deal. So if Ebetoda, for instance, had a chance to go to senior high school, he probably wouldn't be on the streets of Accra hawking. And it's not just him. There are so many of them on the street. And you speak to them, and they all had dreams. They still have dreams. They just don't know how to chase these dreams. All they have is chargers, phone cases, and running on the street and hoping that one day somebody will find them and say, okay, come be my gardener or my houseboy or something, and then they will leave the scorching sun. But Ebetoda has been able to turn his life around with the little we gave him. He had no formal training in media, but we spent about 5 months training him because we wanted him to do local language. And the program we created for him wasn't a very difficult show. He just had to come in and be himself and share the stories on the streets. And so he's become a street ambassador of some sort for a lot of these young guys. And when he started working, 6 months later, he came to me and he said, there is something he's done in Ejiso, where he comes from, and he wants to show me. I said, okay. I was thinking something really trivial.
You went with him to Ejisu? Or he showed you?
On the phone, he had started building a house.
Wow.
Yeah, he had started building a house in Ejisu. He acquired a land with the salary he was getting. And I'm thinking, okay, this guy is earning something very little, but look at what he's doing with the money. And so Ebetoda is an example of the opportunities people need. Yeah. And so when I meet young people, I'm not really looking at how careless they can be, but the potential in there and their availability and willingness to be directed, to listen and be obedient.
And I think those who follow you really closely see that you have this passion for youth and passion for helping people. Where do you think you got it from? Were you given opportunities? Is it coming from maybe people who extended a helping hand to you one day? Are you paying it forward? Is it just something that...
I'm not sure. I just think that, again, my father was a very kind man. I remember every time he took us to school, in traffic, he would buy newspapers because we had to read the newspapers in the car. And he would tell the hawker to keep the change. Or even if he wasn't buying something, he would still give money. And again, throughout my journey, no one has really said no to me.
Right.
Every time I ask, I get it. For instance, when I went to senior high school, and I wasn't very happy at that senior high school because I didn't have any friends there. I didn't know anybody when I joined the school. And it was very strange to me. It was bizarre that people were not following the news. They were not reading books. It was
You were a nerd.
Yeah, it was weird because I was coming from outside and everybody's reading. You see everyone with a book. And I went to Ghana National College and I'm not seeing that. People are not interested in the news. But I was interested in the news because I was in boarding house. I felt there was a vacuum. I wasn't getting news every morning and it was weird for me. And so I approached my chemistry teacher, and I was a science student because my father wanted me to be a doctor.
Okay.
Yeah, my father thought I was too brilliant and I had to be a medical doctor.
It's nice to have such support and encouragement.
I thought he was a big joke. I had my own plans. Yeah, but I approached my chemistry teacher and I told my chemistry teacher that I want to set up a news agency on campus, and I was a teenager. And he looked at me and news agency for what? So I told him that, look, I want to read the news to the assembly. And he said, okay, let's go see the headmistress. And I went to the headmistress, told the headmistress about it. She thought it was a very strange request, but she said, okay, let's see how it goes. So what do you want to call this news agency? Oh, it's a campus news agency. I was trying to mimic CNN, so I wanted something CNN. Yeah. And she said, let's see how it goes. So on Sundays, I'll go to my housemistress's house and listen to the news, summarize it myself, and then Monday morning I'll read to the school assembly. And that's what made me happy. That's why I loved the school. But it caught fire so much that people wanted to join the news agency now. They were beginning to appreciate news. They loved it. And I was happy to have all of these people come on board. And seeing them excited about news, about what was going on around them, made me very happy. And so I would choose that over going to the dining hall, for instance, to go and eat, because I just wanted to see people excited, people growing, people falling in love with something.
Yeah, when you're in love with something and then you bring others on board, I think the feeling is even greater.
Yeah. So as I was saying, no one has really said no to me. Every time I approach.
Why do you think that is? Is it the way you sell the story? You know, I'm a marketing person, so I know that we sell things is really important. Why do you think?
I guess I always know what I am looking for. I just know what I want to do. I have a plan. I'm ready to answer questions, and I'm not going to tell you that I'll come back with a question, because I already preempt you. I know what you're going to ask, and I'm ready, you know, when I come and face you. And so it's difficult for anybody to say, and I'm pretty convincing, you know. I could make faces and cry when I don't want to cry. I don't mean to cry. I'm pretending to cry, but the tears are fake. But you
never went into acting?
No.
Not interested?
No. No, I just wanted to do news. You know, I just wanted to do news. But if you give me a script with George Clooney,
you might just
I'll consider it.
So talking of news, I mean, you did news, we can say, you know, as a broadcast journalist. What do you think of the news today? I have my own thoughts, but I'd like to hear from you.
Well, it has evolved.
In what sense? Positively, negatively? Is it kind of...
Well, it depends on where you stand. I think we are able to validate and verify stories easily now.
Okay.
In the past, it was difficult to verify news. But also in the past, you knew that when you had a story, it was coming from the source. You also knew that your competition was really another broadcast media. And if you were a newspaper, your competition was the next newspaper. And so it was pretty easy. It has evolved now because now everyone has access to a mobile phone. Everyone has access to a microphone and a camera. And so we have more citizen journalists than trained journalists. The difficulty is that you have a citizen journalist breaking a news item without verifying the story. And before you know, everyone has picked up that story. And it turns out it's fake news. You know, so it's very difficult now to verify news. But also, accessibility has improved. Now more people have access to the news. You can still get the news without sitting down to wait for 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. because it's on your
live,
phone, it's on the go. And it's easier for media houses now to reach more people, you know, as opposed to the past where you had to wait for everybody to come home. Exactly. So it has evolved so much.
I want to go back to the fake news thing, though, because you mentioned citizen journalists, and I know this is happening, you know, rampantly. But would you say, especially in Ghana today, the citizens are more responsible for fake news than the broadcast media? I'm sure you don't have the data, but in your gut, would it be like a 50-50? Do you think broadcast media is not playing a role in fake news today?
Oh, we are. I mean, definitely. You know, because there is so much competition from social media, digital media, a lot of media houses are not taking their time to verify the news. So it's a competition, not just with broadcast media, but with social media as well. Everyone wants to trend. Everyone wants traction. And I mean, when I hear people say, we are trending, trending for what, for what exactly?
Just to be trending.
You know, so yes, there is fake news in
the industry
in the traditional media, and there is more in the digital space as well. I wouldn't give it a 50-50, maybe a 70-30.
Towards
70
the professionals?
No, 70
the
for
public?
the public, because they don't verify. They see, and they're very unethical. You know, there are standards in broadcasting a news item. I've seen people record an accident, something from an accident scene, and you are seeing the faces of the people involved in the accident, whether they are alive or dead.
Not even have heard.
Yes, and you can't do that in the traditional media. I mean, you'll be sanctioned. You need to cover their faces. You need to be more professional. But in the digital space, that is not happening.
It's
they just do it.
It's a free world, free fall.
But I also don't blame them because the people consuming the news seem to be happy about it. They like it that way. And so they will say, oh, when station A showed it, they didn't even show the faces. We didn't see the wounds. Why do you want to see a wound? Why do you want to see blood? So there is so much competition now from the traditional media houses and then the digital space as well.
I think now some of the digital media owners are trying, well, where possible, to see how they can stop some rampant, citizen reporters. But that, I think, is really difficult when you've got billions of people all around the world.
It's difficult. It's
but
very
when it comes to broadcast media, what more can be done? Because there's the fake news element, but there's also kind of poor reporting and poor journalism generally. And I mean, we're sitting here in Ghana, you can say the heart of Africa, and the news you hear outside of the continent is always negative. Meanwhile, there are real
positive
things.
Stories.
There are other things happening. There are positive stories.
How can
we improve the quality of our journalism?
You know that one you would have to you have to just tell yourself that for this media house we are doing developmental news, developmental news, positive news, because I can guarantee you that your revenue would be hit badly, as opposed to doing the sensational stories, doing what you call the negative stories. Because a story about corruption will be headlined. A story about Tucci leading a leadership series and 100 people attending will not be headlined. That is boring. But corruption, somebody arrested, a rape story, those ones catch attention. And if you want to make money, less of the positive stories. But of course, you're right. We need the positive stories. We need to shape our narrative ourselves, because we can't expect the global media to do it for us.
And then the quality of our writing and our reporting as well. I mean, I don't say it generally. I mean, there are some very, very good journalists coming out of
I will tell you the
Ghana
truth.
and the continent, but there's also some very poorly written...
because the media in Ghana does not pay. Okay? It doesn't really pay. It's just a few people who are paid very well. Those people are paid very well because you have the masses following you, people trust you, you have credibility, you have integrity. But really, for majority of the people in the newsroom, number one, they are not properly trained. Number two, the media house is owned by a politician whose constituents are looking for jobs. And so the media kweku, who probably speaks well, is able to string a few words together and the sentence makes sense to the owner. And the owner thinks, okay, come and sit on the radio or TV and speak. They don't care about professionalism. They don't care about the ethics. They really don't care about that, because those people will not demand.
So do you think policy in the future can play a role in improving this? Or do you think it'll be a few, private sector people setting up, training schools and bringing in, the best and, kind of changing it from that angle, or let's say improving it from that angle?
It's very difficult. Again, you have to go back to the school curriculum, because I've seen people come to our newsrooms fresh from the university, fresh from journalism schools, from communication schools. And you sit down with them for 2 days and you're wondering what exactly they were taught in school. So the curriculum is archaic. The curriculum hasn't evolved at all. They come to the field. Another challenge that I have with media training schools in Ghana. Fortunately, I think GIG has a studio. I don't even know how it's doing.
Okay.
But they come out and they don't have proper practical training. And so the first time they are writing a story, going out, coming back to write a story, is when they come to the newsroom as an intern.
On the job.
Which is fine, because as an intern, you're supposed to train them. There are some who don't get the chance to even intern because the media houses are not ready to take them in. The newsrooms are already crowded because everybody wants to be in the newsroom. And so it's very difficult to take it. But they leave school, they graduate finally, and they know absolutely nothing. Of course, you find some very bright ones who are very quick to learn. They're ready to go. You can guide them. But there are some who really, really struggle. There are others who don't care because after senior high school, they didn't get excellent grades, and so somebody said, oh, there is a media school in that corner. You can go and do 7 months and get a certificate. And the media school is not accredited. And I've run into so many people who are paying so much money to unaccredited institutions, and they know absolutely nothing.
So maybe this is something you should think about.
A media school? Oh, I have thought of it. In the past, I started something with my friend Sandra and Kobia. We started something, and then I think we both became too busy.
Yeah, I know you do have a lot on your plate, but sometimes when there's a pressing issue or a burning issue and someone can do something about it, it's worth investing a bit of time. Yeah, maybe I'll come back to you on this one.
Yeah, definitely.
So for now, I just want to ask you one last question in this area. We're talking about journalism. We're talking about good writing, good reporting. And, people are often on social media, I see them calling you English madam and things like that, really admiring you for your, articulation, your use of the English language. You're always correcting people as well.
Well, it's not deliberate.
You just can't help it.
No, I can't help myself. I really can't help myself. I don't understand why you would write KKKK for okay. 4 Ks. And the thing is, I don't want to overwork my brain. I don't want to be sitting down. It's not quantum physics. Why do you want me to struggle to understand what your GBU?
Life is hard enough as it is.
What is GBU? God bless you. And I don't understand. Anyway, apart from that, basic things. And a few years ago, I had a reading club, raising readers. I would go to communities to read with children. And in my interaction with officials of WAEC and other educationists, they said, a lot of our children are very intelligent. They don't fail exams because they are stupid. They fail because there is no proper guidance. They're writing shorthand in examinations. How are you writing senior high school exams or JHS exams? What do they call it? BEC.
Right.
And you're using shorthand. And no examiner will pass you. And so we, as parents, we have to be extra committed to the growth of our children. Why is your child sending you shorthand? Why are you encouraging it? In fact, the parents are worse. The mothers especially. The mothers are writing GBU, HRU. How are you?
They want to connect with their children,
That's not how you connect with your child. Because the child is writing it externally. So we need to be serious. We have to be serious. And it really irks me when I see young people do that. That is social media. That is a reflection of you. You're going to look for a job one day. I will go to your social media to check what you write. And how you write these things, it may sound very trivial, but it's very important to me, to other people. For instance, people send me application letters. They're sending me via email. And they write, hey, Nanaba.
Yeah.
You want a job?
You've already closed the email
exactly.
by this point. Yeah.
One time I advertised that I was looking for a PA. Tucci, I was shocked. And I just said to myself that, it's not that we don't have enough jobs in this country, that people just don't know how to write CVs. They don't know how to write cover letters. And that is why a lot of people are not getting the jobs. Somebody sent me a CV, very incomplete, and then added his picture and said, this is how I look. What am I doing with your picture? I mean, send a CV. It's really a problem for me. And I think it goes back to the schools. There's no proper career guidance and counsel. I think the University of Ghana has a very good one, very effective one. I think the other universities must emulate it. We need to be very serious with our children.
They have to understand that there are languages for different platforms.
Exactly.
And, so it's good to correct them.
Well, sometimes they offended, but I do not care.
So talking of offense, you don't become a big personality like you are without, facing your fair share of insults. You're not just a media personality, you're a celebrity, and you're known popularly across the country and actually, even well beyond. So how do you deal with that? No, let me first ask you, what's one of the biggest insults that someone has tried to kind of dish out at you, and how did you take yourself?
Biggest.
Okay, one of them. You probably can't think of the biggest now.
No,
Pick
actually,
one or two to share.
I think that their insults are not intelligent. Very stupid insults. If you're going to insult somebody like me, you need to hit well, because you don't hit and miss. And I tell people all the time, when you go on my Twitter, it says that when you come at me, you best not miss. So don't miss when you try to insult me, because my response will not be measured. It will go beyond what you sent to me. And I know some people who have deleted their accounts because Nanaba came back. And I spent time on my comebacks. My comeback game is very strong because I make time for nonsense. I always say to people that if you don't make time for nonsense, nonsense won't stop. People think they can sit on social media and write all sorts of people. You talk about the wildest insult. I really don't know. Maybe people calling me Ashawo, and Ashawo is not an insult. And I tell people that Ashawo is such an old insult. You need to be you need to be smart. I mean, calling me an Ashawo is nothing really. And I remember one time a guy said to me that, you are an Ashawo, and I said, I know that I'm an Ashawo. But your mom is the head of the gang. I see your mom all the time when we are on duty. And so your mother is the head of the gang. But your father can't pay. So your father is not patronized by anybody. The guy was sad. I'm saying that, don't come at me. If you can't take it, don't dish it. Because when I see it, I will make time for you and school you. Maybe not school you, but you will not be happy for the rest of the day. I don't like making people unhappy. But if you're stupid and you deserve to be unhappy, I have no comms. I will happily. It kind of goes
back to what we were saying about you correcting people. At least when things are happening that you don't agree with, you say it.
Oh no, I will say it. I mean, if I see it, I have to be really busy to ignore it. But if I see it and I am bored, I will respond. And it's and sometimes I see some of the insults and I feel this is really nothing. I'll just ignore it.
And has this been a journey? Was it more difficult at the beginning when these types of insults would be hurled at you? How as you've grown, has it become easier, or you've become more immune to it?
I'm immune to it.
Better at the comebacks.
When I go on social media, for especially X, and I go through my TL and I don't see insults, I just feel, this is going to be a bad day.
This is a strange day.
It's going to be a very bad day, because what is happening? All of these praises, though, there has to be one somewhere. So I've become very immune to it. And also, I really do not care, because people's opinion of me is really secondary. I don't care.
It adds zero value to your life.
I don't really care, because I don't care about you. Number one, I don't know you. If I know you, you have to be really special for me to put any premium on your opinion of me. And if I don't put any premium on your opinion of me, you don't really matter. And honestly, there are only a few people that I truly respect. And so if, for instance, I do something and someone like you reaches out, then I will sit down and take a look at what I did again, and then I will correct it. Even that, I have to do a lot of introspection to be sure that I really, really want to correct this. I have a very strong personality that people struggle to take, and it's not my problem. I mean, it's for you to either take it or, deal with me or don't deal with me. I don't really care what people think of me. But the insults don't break me. They don't add anything.
Actually, they've probably strengthened
the thing is, I don't even see them. So somebody would have to, and again, on X, people don't tag me because they know if you tag Nana Aba and she sees it, she'll respond. So they don't tag. So someone will probably send it to my DM. Oh, Nana Aba, look at what this person said about you. And typical Nana Aba, I will go and respond, you know. Sometimes I just close my ears to it. And the social media platforms have made it very easy to ignore some of these things. So there are words that I have muted on social media. That's good. Some of them are insulting. Some of them are the shorthand. So if you send me a message and you have beginning, you know, starting a positive sentence, I'm not going to see it, you know, because I have muted it, you know. So the platforms are doing well, not enough, but they are doing quite well. And so they've made it easy to avoid a lot of stupidity on social media, and it helps him. But the truth of the matter is that I don't care. Every day somebody is attacking me, and they attack me not because I said something so bad that is going to affect, well, if it affects your livelihood, I don't care, because I said what I said. For instance, a few weeks ago, this issue of Galamsey, you know, and I just feel that there is a lot of hypocrisy in the country. We know the people involved in Galamsey, and it is not one particular political party. It's across the board. They know. But for political expediency, everyone is trying to shift the post. You know, oh, is this person for? This person is not doing that. That person is not doing that. But we know exactly what the problem is, and we know how to tackle the problem. So typical Nana Aba, I made my views known about it. The way the police also handled some of the protesters. Yes, some of them really misbehaved, but there are others who genuinely did nothing wrong, and they were picked up by the police. Well, I'm hearing that charges have been dropped against some of them because they found nothing. Yeah, but there is a lot of hypocrisy in this country. You know, we just try. We paint people with different brushes. You know, if we like you so much, then we are not attacking. We are attacking you, but it's very mild. But if we don't like you, then we are going all out to deal with you. And I feel if we were using the same energy that we put in negativity to address a lot of our issues, we would have advanced in this country. So all this time, I hadn't heard the vice president say anything. And you're running for elections. You want to be president of this country. You are campaigning every day. There is a raging issue, as Galam saying, you haven't said anything about it. And I tweeted that I haven't heard this man say anything about it. So at least there were videos of President Mahama that people had posted. He's saying that he was going to grant amnesty to Galamsey. Whether it's true or not, at least he's mentioned Galamsey. But I hadn't heard the vice president. Then suddenly the vice president spoke about Galamsey, and he professed a solution. And I thought, hold on, this man hadn't said anything. But I think so far, this is the best solution I have heard. And because I had criticized him in the past, and I am not a neutral person, you know, people like to say that, oh, you need to be neutral. There is no such thing as a neutral person in this world. You have a soft spot for somebody. On election day, you are going to vote for one person. What you try to do is to be objective. So you give people equal opportunities. Yeah. So the vice president, whom I had criticized in the past, that he hadn't said anything about Galamsey, finally did. And being an objective person that I am, I said, oh, finally, the man has spoken about Galamsey, and his solution is by far the most practical one I have heard. Oh, the NDC people suddenly thought that Nana Aba is an agent of Dr. Bawumia, is a communicator for Dr. Bawumia. So they started attacking me from all angles, you know, bringing in my son, oh dear. And I just sat there, I was reading the comments and I was laughing. I was laughing because not long ago, the NDC were so excited under my post that yes, Nana Aba is criticizing the president. Nana Aba has criticized the vice president. So in the political space, they don't know where to place me. They can't place me anywhere because I'm not a stooge for any of the political parties. And I always say to them that the NDC doesn't deserve me, the NPP doesn't deserve me.
Who deserves you?
A political party that truly cares about the welfare of people, that's the party that will deserve me. But sadly, I'm going to vote on election day because I think it's my constitutional right, and I'm ready to go on and vote. I will vote for one of them. I already know who I'm voting for. Because amongst the two men, there is one that I trust the most, to take us a step further, and that's the one I will vote for. I am just not afraid of any of these political parties. I keep telling them that I'm not afraid of any single person and they like to threaten. And it's not the politicians, it's their followers, the foot soldiers. Sometimes I like to call them fool soldiers, because you can't be a foot soldier and be so blind and stupid. You need to be wise. You need to be able to read through the lines and say, oh, even though I like this person, I think this one doesn't make sense. But they attack you. Some will call you and threaten you with rape. I've had all of that. But do I care? No, I don't care. Some people have suggested, oh, Nana, but you need to get a guard. I don't need it, because I have a very clean conscience. I'm not taking money from any political party. And that's why I can say whatever I want to say. There are journalists in this country who cannot. They cannot be as brave as I am because they've been bought. They're on the payrolls of politicians and political parties, and so they don't have the guts to do it. I cannot be bought. I mean, if you give me the money and the money is huge, I'll take it, but I'll still criticize you. Not that I've taken anybody's money. I haven't taken it. But if I take that money, rest assured that I am going to use it for something very positive.
Oh, good.
To help people. Because that's what we need in this country.
So there's a lot here, and I'm going to come back on this because I think, politics in general, and I'm not a politician. I stay very far away from politics, but I do believe in the principal tenets and in people exercising their right to democracy and really being citizens. So I'll come back on that, but I want to pick up on a statement you made about, if you're going to, attack me, you better make sure that, you win, something like this. And it took me back to remembering that you actually play a role in, women's, is it football?
Yes. Yes.
And you actually are a football supporter.
Yes, I am. A huge one.
Who's your team?
Oh, in Ghana?
But wherever
I support
and everywhere.
the greatest team in Africa, Accra Great Olympics. We've been relegated. We're relegated last season. But the thing about Accra Great Olympics is that we are not in to win the league. We just want to beat Hasselhoek and Kotoko. And that for us is the ultimate. Do
you play football yourself?
No.
Okay.
I'm great at criticizing players. I can play. I support Manchester United. I'm a struggling Manchester United fan now. We are in a very toxic relationship because they're not doing very well. Sometimes we are there. No, a few times we are here. A lot of the time we are down there. So I'm in a struggling relationship with them. I used to be on the women's football board in Ghana, but I left unceremoniously. I didn't even
what
tell
happened?
them. Because, even before I joined, and I was happy with Kurt putting together that board, and I have a few issues with Kurt as the GFA president, but I think with women's football, he's done exceptionally well.
Okay.
Before I joined that, there was a time when I was campaigning for female players, and it was heartbreaking for me. Sandra and I set out to look for money for them because these girls, and again, the female teams in Ghana do better than the male teams. The senior national team, the Black Queens, have won trophies
outside of Ghana?
Yes.
Okay.
The Black Stars haven't won anything since 1982. Yet we put in so much money.
Oh, we do. I was going to say, is it for lack of support?
Ooh, the Black Stars.
I mean, we have so many strong football players from Ghana playing in
all our resources go to the Black Stars.
Globally.
The Black Stars. It's the Black Stars. And they haven't won anything, not even a teacup, since 1982. The Black Queens, however. The Black Queens have been winning. Yet they go and play football, they come back and they are not paid. They have to picket at the Ministry of Sports or the Jubilee House before they are paid. Why should it be so? Because they're women. Number two, there are times they are going for tournaments and they are wearing the jerseys of the men. And you should see the girls struggling on the pitch because the jerseys are just too big, They have to tie it. that has changed over time, and I give credit to Keto Kweku for doing that. Now, when I was going to organizations trying to raise funds for the female footballers, I was shocked that men born of women, educated, and claiming to be exposed. These are men who say they travel a lot, they speak English, they are refined men, they use the best perfumes, drive the best cars, and they are so retarded and backward and archaic in their thinking. So we approached them, so we were trying to raise this amount of money for female footballers. And the first CEO we approached, and I'm not going to mention his name, but he later got into trouble with the law, and I thought, yes, that's it, you deserve it. He said, oh, but if we put our money here, these girls, they are going to play football, they'll be menstruating.
Oh.
And I'm looking for the connection between menstruating and playing football. Yeah, because they are women, they have to menstruate at some point. They need to menstruate. Oh, female, I don't think women should play football. Why can't they just stay in the kitchen or go and do hairdressing? And that's the mentality of a CEO leading a big brand in Ghana. And it wasn't just him. A lot of the CEOs we approached had the same thinking. It was just 2 CEOs at the time. Kwabena Dufo Jr. at Unibank, who thought, oh, this is excellent. So Kwabena gave us 100,000. And then 2 other institutions as well supported us. They didn't have a problem supporting us. And then later I found out that these people, are very close to their mothers. They have sisters. They understand women.
The ones who support
they support women. They believe in women, And in Ghana, we are so, it's not everyone, but you speak to a few people, and the moment you start pushing women, you attack a feminist. I don't know when being a feminist became an insult, but they are so happy to tag you as for you feminists. What do you mean by as for you feminists? I mean, there are men who are feminists. There are men who support women, who like women. They want women to thrive in the organizations, So it's our football is retrogressing. It's moved from bad to worse.
So did you leave because you thought
because
nothing is going to be done, no matter how much you put into it?
I thought I was wasting my time. I didn't see commitment. I mean, the ladies on the board were excellent people, excellent women. And it wasn't just them. It wasn't about them. It was about the system they're working in. I mean, Hillary was leading that. And Hillary is a brilliant woman. I love her from afar. And I thought, given the chance, she'll do an excellent job. There are women in there like DCOP Lydia Donko, excellent woman as well, trying very hard with women football. But it's the system. The system is problematic. And until we find a way to address those issues, we are just wasting our time.
So I said that there was a lot there, regarding politics. I'm using the term, but it's really to say there's a lot that can be done, to develop our country further. I think Ghana is, we call it a shining star, a black star. I think we're showing some of the good that comes out of Africa, across the world. But obviously, there's a lot more that we need to do. So what role are you ready to play and willing to play? I mean, you play a role in advocating, in speaking the truth, in speaking, your mind. But, I believe that you can do more. You're capable of doing more. So what are you prepared to do, and when?
Well, at the moment, I'm enjoying life.
And do you think
I'm enjoying life?
A deeper role will not allow you to enjoy life?
No, not at the moment. Right now, my mind is in a different place, because it was, I have to find a better way to put this. At some point, my mental health was being affected because too many negative things, You expect Ghanaians to be happy for people, but you find yourself in a place where every single day people wake up in the morning and they're looking for the bad in people. They're looking for the bad news. They're looking to destroy the next person, and they don't care what is at stake. They just want to destroy you. And it's very typical. It's become a part of our fabric. It's not like that in Nigeria. I've been to Nigeria a few times. They have their own issues, but Nigerians are not destructive. They're not destroying the next person. But it's so common in this country that the people that you are speaking for will turn around and join the persons that you are fighting against. And that is heartbreaking, because I will try very hard. Oh, I want to do this for this guy. I want to do that for that guy. And then the same person now turns around and starts insulting you because they are loyal to a certain political party or a politician. And that, for me, is depressing. It's really annoying. And so at some point, I just said to myself that, you know what, I'm just going to be very selective with the people that I help. But I'm not going to make it my job to look for help for the wider population. I really do not care like I used to do anymore. And that's why I said it's affecting my mental health, because that's not the person that I am.
Because you do care.
Yes. So at the moment...
And I know you do.
Yeah,
so.
I've taken a step back. I'm enjoying life. But I think I'll come back later, because I have my own ambitions. You know, I have ambitions. People have asked me, oh, Nana, but would you like to be president one day? And I said, why not? I'd love to be president one day. Because if I become president of this country, trust me, I will do better than a lot of presidents we've had in this country, because they know what has to be done. They're not doing it. They know how it has to be done. But it's also easier. It's easy to say it that because you are not there. It is the president because the buck stops with the president.
But when a leader has a team and they empower their team, you know, you've managed an institution. You were general manager once of GH1.
Yeah, if you're not making an impact, okay? If the team, you put a team in place and the team is not impactful, because at the end of the day...
You change some of them, right?
Yeah, but we've had instances where some people are never changed because of certain reasons, and they are there and they are incompetent, they are inefficient, and they are still retained, they are there. And so the buck does stop with the president. Sometimes the president is also blinded, you know, maybe he's not being told the truth. And when I was general manager, there were people who would come to my office just to gossip. You sift through the gossip, and sometimes some are really true stories. Others are just people trying to, you know, court favor from you. But what I'm trying to say is that as president, you don't have your eyes everywhere in this country. It's
impossible. I mean, like we were saying, when you lead an organization, if it's 100 people, if it's 1,000 people, if it's 10,000 people, you won't see everything.
Absolutely.
You won't hear everything.
Absolutely.
And so you kind of have to, you know, empower people to get the job done. So sometimes it can be tough when you hear, this is one whole nation, and you're leading that whole nation. There are policies across, you know, different sectors. There are things happening on the international front. There's war, there's peace. There are so many things. So it can be difficult. So like you said, it is not as easy to say, except when you're in there. But how will you know if you don't kind of make some moves, if you don't start by contributing in some way? How? Because even to get to that, you probably would have had to
start from that.
Somewhere.
Oh no, I mean, everyone has dreams, right? Yeah. Becoming a president of a country is probably a lot of people's dream. I mean,
definitely not mine.
Not yours, because you are too big. You know, when you sit back, you just think, oh, I could do this better. I could do that better. I mean, not to say that, I don't know how many people will vote for me if I decided to even run for assemblywoman. No, but
all I know is that, you know, you're someone who, when you put your mind to something, you put everything into it, and you really go for gold. And so I think the country needs more of such people who are ready not just to you know, talk the talk, but actually walk the walk. And even talking the talk, talking it, you know, frankly, because people say things that they don't mean to say. And here, often people say things by not saying anything at all, which is also not honest and, you know, and not a good thing. So, I think it's food for thought anyway.
Absolutely.
So that thing you mentioned just now about, you know, Nigerians, I've seen that myself. You know, I tell people when I travel to other countries, Nigerians, they may actually fight they themselves, amongst themselves, but they go somewhere else, and it's like, it doesn't matter. They may not know this other person, but it's a Nigerian, and I'm going to defend my brother or my sister, and that's actually a really positive thing. And I think more of that.
We need that.
We need that. I think in Ghana, we'll grow as individuals. We'll grow as a community, as a society. Yeah. What is your philosophy on leadership?
I believe in helping people to develop their full, potential, bearing in mind that in developing their potential, they need to embrace a culture of diversity, empathy, credibility, and integrity, and also willingness to serve people, genuinely.
Let's pick up on one of those words and just expand on it a little bit for me.
So, diversity. Diversity is very important to me, that you should be open to working with everyone. Women, men, persons living with disability. If you know that this person has HIV, for instance, you're not discriminating against the person. You're not denying them access because of a medical condition. It is wrong. You're not denying people opportunities because of their sexual orientation. And so diversity is very important to me. I want to be able to work with everybody, irrespective of where they're coming from, who they are, what they are, and what they do. You need to be able to embrace everyone. You need to be able to work with everybody peacefully, respectfully. And so diversity is very important to me.
So beyond, because, there are so many arguments for diversity, how it improves the business figures, because you need diversity of thought, of mind, of experiences, of skill, to really be able to grow any kind of organization. And so maybe even beyond that business case, I'm hearing a case about, the human case from you.
Yes, absolutely. I know that diversity has become such an interesting word, such a catchy word, Businesses are happily talking about diversity because it makes them look good. But at the end of the day, you are not employing the people just to look good. You are employing them because you want the good for these people. You want these people to be comfortable. You believe in their growth. You believe that their lives will be better off from where you pick them from. So it's not just for the business to look good, for them to write big billboard, we care about diversity. We have all, so you see billboards with a black person, a person with disability. It looks nice, but the thinking and the thoughts behind it must be genuine. You should care about these people you're working with, and not just to raking the numbers and look good.
How would you say people describe you as a leader? Those you've worked with before. Tough.
Yes. Tough and resilient. Tough. And I know I can be very tough because...
Can you give me an instance where you've had to kind of...
To be very tough. Yeah. Just a few men struggling to take instructions from a woman leading them because they don't think that the woman deserves to be there. Because you're a woman, how dare you tell me to do A, B, C, D. And when I was a general manager at GH1, it went on for a while. In the initial stages, I just ignored it. It happened once, I ignored. Second time, I ignored. Then it went on the third and the fourth time.
How were they manifesting it?
Oh, they would just not do what you're asking them to do. They would dilly-dally. They would do it, but they would not do it on time, or they're not doing it properly. But you look at their files, and they had done the same thing very well in the past because they were reporting to a man. And so I called 3 of them to my office one time, and I told them that, I don't like to do this. I don't like to remind people of who is in charge, because if you have to remind people that you are in charge, then you're really not in charge. And I don't like to do that. But with these people, I had to remind them. So I called them to my office. They tried to sit down. I said, I haven't offered you a seat. You don't sit when you come to my office. Stand. I'm just reminding you that I'm the general manager. And so from today, when I give you a job, or if your supervisor gives you a job and you can't do it, you feel this place is not good for you because there's a woman in charge, resign. Because if you don't resign, I'm going to fire you. It's as simple as that. And you have just a few days to change. If you don't change, I'll fire you because you're really not needed. I can replace you easily. And one of the things I did as a general manager was that there were more men than women. So what I tried to do was parity. And there should be parity in the organization. People have said, oh, women are looking for quotas. We are going to ask for quotas until the right thing is done. And so give us the quota. We like the quota system as it is. Until people begin to respect women and see the good in women and the potential in women. So I had a
During
very...
your time there, you were able to bring
Oh,
up that parity.
My news editor was a woman. I had directors who were women. One of the best directors in the country, a woman. And women were doing amazing things. I didn't have to tell the supervisors, but they knew that, okay, this is where she wants to go. And so before I knew it, they were bringing in female interns as camera women, sound women, and that was
Wonderful.
nice. It was very beautiful to see. So in this particular case, I just had to remind these three men that I am in charge. I'm your general manager. If you don't like it, I am not leaving. I will leave because I want to leave, but I'm not leaving because of you three buffoons. And that's exactly what I told them. So if you can't take it, walk out. If the kitchen is too hot, jump out.
And how did that end?
They stood there. They couldn't say a word. And I said, you can get out of my office now. We are done. But I'm sure they'll go and brag to other people. But I had to tell you what I had to say. And so they changed,
So they stayed.
They stayed. And they later became very good friends of mine. And they still laugh about it. Hey, Nana. Okay, then now the by office now. Okay, can't watch it. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad you remember. And that's how it should be. You need to respect people, no matter who they are. Respect people. Basically.
People they love titles. They aspire to be a leader because of the title they'll receive, without recognizing the kind of tough daily decisions that need to be made. And things like this, stories like this illustrate that. It's one of those things. If you're signing up for leadership, you're signing up for such, and it kind of gives you that mettle. So I like that story that you shared, and it goes to show that yes, being tough does not always mean making enemies.
Exactly.
Actually, you can grow relationships when you make tough decisions, because people ultimately respect that. It reminds me of, when you're raising children, they say if you let your child get away with everything, they actually feel withdrawn, a lack of sense of safety. They grow up recognizing that you being tough on them means that you actually care, and it can actually blossom into good relationships. So I think I like that story you shared. And I'll ask
they see me sometimes they see me on the corridor and they go buffoon, because one guy said I was hearing that word for the first time. I said, yeah, because he pushed me.
It's created a fond memory and fun stories to share.
They laugh about it every time we run into each other.
And then I'm going to ask you to share one story on resilience as well.
Resilience.
It may not be a story, because at the end of the day, resilience is something it's over time. Taking knocks and getting through them.
Picking yourself up, and I think it's just that sometimes you're in a certain situation and people think, oh, this is where she cowers or buckles, and I'm back on my feet. I rise. There've been too many instances. I can't really take out one, but I
think even the stories we shared earlier, your journey, some of the things you've had to endure, and you keep on going, and that's really the definition of resilience.
Exactly.
So as we're kind of coming to an end, I really want to know a little bit more about you beyond what I already know and beyond what I can find in the media. Is there anything that people don't know about you that you'd be prepared to share today because you're with me? Are you just really an open book?
I think I am. Well, the thing that people don't know, I mean, if I share it will cause problems in this country. That's a joke. No, but I think I'm an open book. I barely grant interviews, but when I do, I don't hold back. I just talk. But I hardly grant interviews because I just feel sometimes the questions are very repetitive and annoying.
Well, I've enjoyed talking to you
Yeah,
today. I hope they haven't been too repetitive or annoying.
Your questions are different. You know, it's not about, oh, Nana, so who is your boyfriend? I mean, that's such a stupid question to ask me. And so I avoid interviews
and
because
whose
of
business is it anyway?
Exactly. You know, exactly. This is more intellectual and it is stimulating, brain stimulating. So I like it. Yeah.
And so beyond, you know, the restaurants, enjoying, you know, hanging out with your good friends, eating some good food, good pepper, kenke. I heard you talking about kenke
that's
and
my
pepper
favorite
earlier.
food.
Yeah.
That's my favorite food. Kenke any day.
So what else gets you going apart from good food with good friends?
Wine. No, actually champagne.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a champagne freak. I love to read. I've watched football a lot. In my spare time, I even watch old games from 1994, 1980. I just want to watch these games for fun.
And I think your reading is as diverse as your other interests, because I've seen you share some.
All sorts. Yeah,
I think we need to get together on a book club front.
Yes. Yeah, I read all sorts. So, I mean, I do very common things, you know, basic things, and they make me happy.
So maybe share one or two of the books that you've particularly enjoyed for whatever reason.
Okay, so I'm a big fan of John Grisham.
Okay, me too.
Yeah, he's got a new one. I just got a new book. I'm a huge fan of John Grisham.
Yeah, I think I've read everyone as well.
Oh, no. So this particular one, The Judges List. I don't know if you've read it. You need to read it. You need to read The Judges List.
A good legal thriller, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, for the longest time, I preferred the initial books he wrote. You know, the first
Firm
few,
and
the Firm.
I
love the Firm.
Yeah.
But The Judges List is a masterpiece. You know, the way he ended the story, you just didn't know where he was going.
Okay.
You know, and I thought that stood out for me. I mean, I love Steve King. I read a lot, but John Grisham is very special to me. I love him. Yeah.
I'd like you to share with those, who are watching us or listening to us, a word. If you had to go back and advise your younger self, what advice would you give? Because people are listening, looking for inspiration, looking for wisdom.
Yeah, just be yourself. Be yourself, and learn to be empathetic.
Towards yourself.
Towards other people.
Okay.
Not just yourself, but other people. But because I've noticed that we are very self-absorbed. People care too much about themselves without caring about the next person. But we should respect people's perspectives, and that's what we don't do well. People say something and we are happy to trash it, move on because we think it's nonsense. But there is no such thing as pure nonsense. Sometimes people are making sense, just be respectful, respect the other person, and you get respect back as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nana Aba. This has been fun. We're going to do
Next
it
time,
again,
please
I
bring
hope.
champagne.
I will.
Thank you,
Thank
Tucci.
you.